Okay, let's get right into it. We are looking at what could be a major conflict brewing. In this explainer, we're going to break down the military posturing and the really stark warnings being thrown back and forth between the United States and Iran. I mean, that quote right there, it just cuts to the heart of it, doesn't it? A moment of maximum danger. And look, that's not hyperbole. That's the reality of a super high-stakes confrontation that has pretty much the entire world holding its breath. So this is the standoff. It really lays out the two sides, staring each other down. On one side, you have Iran's military leaders saying their, quote, hands are on the trigger. And on the other, the U.S. confirms a massive force is on the move. You can almost feel the tension just ratcheting up. So what is Tehran actually saying? Let's dig into their warning, because the words they're choosing here, man, they are loaded with intent. Okay, so first things first, you need to understand who's saying this. This isn't some diplomat talking in circles. This message is coming from the very top of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Iran's most elite military force. When this commander speaks, it's not just talk, it's a direct reflection of their battle readiness. Just look at the words they're using here, painful and deeply regret-inducing. There is absolutely zero room for misinterpretation there, right? This is a clear red line being drawn. It's a threat, and it's meant to make the U.S. think twice. So the key message Iran wants to send is crystal clear. This is not a drill. They're making it known their warning is operational, not just symbolic. And from their point of view, they are responding to what they call American Zionist hostility. They're saying they're ready to go, right now. All right, so that's Iran's side. Now let's flip over to the American response, because the show of force coming out of Washington is, well, it's just as massive. Yep, the U.S. is answering with a classic show of force of its own. We're talking about a significant naval presence moving into the region, and President Trump himself didn't shy away from describing the scale of it. You can hear it right from President Trump himself. He's not mincing words. Big flotilla, massive fleet. But then there's that little phrase at the end, isn't there? Maybe we won't have to use it. It's a dual message. Here's our overwhelming force, but hey, there's still an off-ramp. It's like showing a huge stick but saying you'd rather not swing it. Now, to really get inside the president's thinking on this, he told this really specific story. And it all revolves around this one number, 837. So why tell this story? Well, it's basically him laying his cards on the table. It shows you his playbook for dealing with Iran. He believes that the only language that works is a direct, public, and overwhelming threat. It's his way of saying, this is how I get things done. And just in case anyone thought this was all talk, he immediately brings up past military actions. I mean, when you use a phrase like total obliteration, that's designed to send a very, very clear signal that the U.S. has both the capacity and the will to strike again, and to strike really hard. But why is this all happening right now? I mean, to really understand the timing, we have to look at the violent instability that's been going on inside Iran, because that's the powder keg at the center of this whole standoff. Right, because none of this is happening in a vacuum. This huge military buildup is coming right on the heels of these massive, intense economic protests that swept across Iran. And those protests, they turned deadly. And now the fight over who's to blame for all that bloodshed is what's pouring gasoline on this fire. All right, so this table really lays out Iran's side of the story. From their perspective, these were legitimate protests that got hijacked by violent rioters. And who do they say was pulling the strings? You guessed it, the U.S. and Israel. It's a way for them to shift the blame, delegitimize the dissent inside their own borders, and frame it all as an attack from the outside. And all of this, it brings us to the human cost. And, the biggest risk of all in this whole situation, a catastrophic miscalculation. So get this. Iran's own Security Council released a number, and it is a staggering one, 3,117. That's the official death toll they're reporting from all this recent internal unrest. But it's how they break that number down that's so telling. They claim the vast majority, we're talking over 2,400 people, were martyrs killed in an atrocity orchestrated by the U.S. and Israel. Now, it's super important to note, these figures are heavily, heavily disputed internationally, but it shows you how Iran sees this. In their official worldview, they see themselves as a nation under siege. And right there, that is the absolute heart of the danger.
You have the US believing its actions are a necessary response to Iranian aggression, and you have Iran believing its actions are a necessary response to American interference. It creates this terrifying feedback loop of escalation, where each side feels completely justified in its next move. Which brings us to Iran's bottom line. Their patience, they're saying, has run out. After what they see as years of absorbing pressure and taking punches, they are now signaling that they are ready and willing to punch back, and to do it with force. So, that's where we are. Two sides, poised for action, each operating under their own, very different version of the truth. And it leaves us with a really chilling question. In a standoff this tense, where everyone has their finger on the trigger, what does a miscalculation even look like? Because a single mistake, a single misunderstanding, could be the spark that ignites a much, much bigger fire.